I'm Michael Voyajakis of Voyage Funeral Home. Something terrible has happened in this last year. Our elderly and most vulnerable have been locked in homemade prisons. For what? For working hard all their lives? For paying taxes? For raising families? COVID-19 has put fear into our elderly population. We can't see our moms and dads. We can't see our families because the government says we can't. The government is violating our constitutional rights and putting fear into the elderly and the most vulnerable. And I think that's just wrong. When our parents brought us home from the hospitals, it wasn't too long later where they'd allow us to crawl around the house and touch all kinds of things, put our fingers in our mouths and in our ears and in our eyes, and our immune systems would get stronger. Our parents did put masks around our face when we were in our houses or when our friends came over. We breathed the air in the room, and it made our immune systems stronger. These days, the fear factor is out of control, and you're being lied to. As a funeral director, I can tell you that the numbers that they're reporting are not true numbers. A lot of those numbers are made up to put fear into you. I can tell you when I go to a care home and somebody hasn't been moved around because the care home doesn't have the staff to do it. Every 2 hours, our elderly should be moved from side to side, even the younger people who are in hospitals. And if they're not moved around, the chance of them getting a pneumonia is pretty good. So when they do get pneumonia and they die, they say that's COVID-19 at a lot of the care homes. To me, that's disturbing because that's not how the person died. When a person is sent home to die because they have cancer, and we have a letter from the government stating that they're going to die at home, and we have an anticipated home death letter that allows us as funeral directors to go to the house and pronounce the person deceased. Some of those people call an ambulance by accident, and their loved one is marked COVID-19. I go into the hospital, into the morgues, and sometimes there's bodies in there like you wouldn't believe, and lots of them are marked COVID-19 because they've been tested, but the test results haven't come back yet. You got to ask yourself, why doesn't Roussin, Dr. Roussin, get on the news and tell you how many people died of heart disease, which is the number one cause of death? The close second is cancer. How many people died of cancer that day? How many people died of diabetes? How about suicide? How many people died of suicide today? How many people died because of mental and health breakdowns? Alcohol and drug addiction. Why does Dr. Roussin keep talking about COVID-19 day in, day out, but we don't hear about any of the other deaths? Want me to tell you why? Because you would all be against them at that point. Could you see a majority of people are not dying of COVID-19, but dying of underlying conditions that people in their 80s and 90s die from daily? You see, Dr. Roussin, Premier Pallister, let me tell you something. Newsflash, we're all born to die. And God takes us home when he's ready to take us home. And people in their late 70s, 80s, and 90s, hundreds, are going to die. And most of them have an underlying condition. So you tell us to wear a mask, social distance, wash our hands. So if we can do all that, why can't we see each other? Why can't we be with each other if that works? Or are you lying to us? You need to tell us the truth. You need to tell the people the truth of what's going on. It's disturbing when I get a call for an 80-year-old lady who committed suicide because she was lonely. You see, what you're doing to our elderly is they're lonely, and they've had enough, and they have fear factor in them, and they don't want to live through this because it's terrible. It's terrible not to see your mom and dad, or your brother or sister. It's just wrong, and it's violating our constitutional rights, but you're getting away with it. So let's talk about a little 8-year-old boy who passed away, and it breaks my heart as a father and as a funeral director to have to do a service for somebody so young. But what breaks my heart even more is that I have to tell the family that they only can have 5 people in the chapel. And Dr. Roussin says, if we want more people, the 5 people in there, that includes the mom and dad, they need to leave the building, leave the parking lot, and another 5 people could come. How fair is that to a mom and dad that's lost a little 8-year-old boy? But then we have a police officer who died, rest his soul, and he had thousands of people on the streets, and his funeral is going to be huge. but we're not treating people equally. The little 8-year-old boy should be able to have people at his funeral, just like the police officer who died. He should be able to have people at his funeral. It's treating people unfairly, and it's wrong. It's almost like businesses. We're treating businesses unfairly. We're the large corporations, the Costcos, the Canadian Tires, the Walmarts, the Shoppers Drug Marts, lineups outside the stores. But small businesses all around this province are closing down, closing their doors left and right. Bankruptcy is going through the roof. People are having a hard time putting food on their table to feed their family. How can a government sit back and allow this to happen? We voted you in. You're supposed to look out for our best interest. How come there's no flu this year? How come there's no influenza? But it's COVID-19 now. Why are the police officers handing out health violation tickets? Why are police officers arresting parents that are going tobogganing with their kids? Why are police officers attacking kids on a skating rink, taking away their rights to play and to be with each other and to be outside and breathe in the fresh air that God has given us? Did you become a police officer to violate people's rights? Or did you become a police officer to serve and protect? We live in the crime capital, the murder capital, I should say, of Canada, right here in Winnipeg. But then the police officers have time to hand out health violation tickets. But if we get our car window broken, or our house broken into, and a bunch of other crimes that happen, the police won't even attend. But they'll attend in big numbers to give you that health violation ticket. How many RCMP officers does it take to go to a church and give the pastor a ticket? He's a pastor. He's not violently going to attack you all of a sudden. He represents God. How about that father who got arrested tobogganing with his kids and you embarrassed him? How about the old man, the guy who worked so hard and paid taxes in the city, paid your wages, only to get arrested at Superstore because he had a mass exception and the police officer put him in handcuffs? This is an elderly gentleman. Put him in handcuffs knowing that he had a condition. You're taking away the trust of these citizens. When I was young, I trusted a police officer. I would look up to him because I knew that if I needed help, he was there for me. But people are afraid to call 911 now. People are afraid of the police, and it's just wrong. The police need to protect the people and the citizens of the city. And you need to stop giving out health violation tickets. That's not why you became a police officer. You need to fight crime. I find it disturbing what's happening in the city. I find it disturbing that we can't even go to church, but we can sit on an airplane that's packed with people shoulder to shoulder, but we can't even sit with our own families on a pew. You kind of wonder why the government is taking away everything good from us. Our younger generation, they're not even going to school. These are the people that are going to run our province and our city in the future. We need to let them get an education. This younger generation needs to learn how to play with one another, what it's like to be outside, to go tobogganing, to play ice hockey. You take away the kids' right to be on a hockey team this year. You just stop hockey altogether. If the problem is the older population, then why don't we take care of our elders? Why don't we take care of the most vulnerable and the most precious people on this earth today, our elderly? Why are we getting extra people in these care homes? Why are we not allowing family members to go in and take care of their moms and dads, grandpas and grandpas? It's just wrong. Why would you violate our rights? And we lose a loved one in a care home and we can't even see them. And then we can't even have a funeral for them. All these small businesses need to fight. We need to get together by the thousands and go to the legislative building and let them know that we're not happy. And enough's enough and we're not going to take this anymore. The Pallister government was voted in by you, the people of this province. They're supposed to be working for us and looking out for our best interest. But this seems to be not what's happening. You know, we're all following the guidelines. And it's been a year now. Another 2 weeks. Another 2 weeks. You've taken away Christmas from us. You've taken away our families. You've taken away our jobs, our livelihood. What else do you want from us? People, don't sit there and take this. We need to fight back. I'm not saying that COVID-19 is not real or not dangerous, but we can't stop society because there's been 700 deaths in Manitoba. Those 700 deaths triple and could triple when it comes to heart disease and cancer. So why haven't we stopped the world for that? We need to wake up and realize that there's something bigger happening in the background. We've worked way too hard. We've raised families. We've paid taxes. We have rights. Don't let them violate our constitutional rights to do what's right. I'm Michael Voyjakis of Voyage Funeral Home. You take care of yourself and each other. Don't lose hope. Tomorrow's a new day. Take care.